Good morning, buenos dias, and thank you for tuning in. On behalf of all of us at the locally owned independent bookstore Books and Books in Miami, Florida, I welcome you to a virtual morning with Dara McAnulty to discuss his new book, Diary of a Young Naturalist, published by our friends at Milkweed Books. Dara McAnulty is the recipient of the Wainwright Prize for Nature Writing. He lives with his mom, dad, brother, sister, and rescue greyhound Rosie in County Down, Northern Ireland. Dara's love for nature, his activism, and his honesty about autism has earned him a huge social media following from across the world and many accolades. In 2018, he was awarded Animal Hero of the Year by the Daily Mirror. And in 2019, he became a young ambassador for the Jane Goodall Institute and became the youngest ever recipient of the RSPB Medal for Conservation. To moderate today's conversation, we're joined by Christine Rupp. Chris is the director of Dade Heritage Trust. She joined the organization in 2015 and has made public awareness, advocacy, partnership building, and education her priorities. Chris has established meaningful relationships with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, local governments, and a host of like-minded nonprofit organizations to assist with architectural, environmental, and cultural preservation issues in Miami-Dade County. In addition to her involvement in the South Florida community, she also owns a family farmhouse and barns on 5 acres in Ohio, which she is restoring to become a working farm. Throughout this morning's broadcast, you're invited to ask questions by using the Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen, and you can order your copy of Diary of a Young Naturalist from Books and Books below by pressing the green button. We appreciate each and every order and the generous donations from viewers everywhere. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests to the virtual stage. Here they come. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello. So I have to say that when Christina reached out to me to moderate this event with you, Dara, I was kind of like, wow, why me? And then when I was handed the copy of the book and I read it, I felt I'm so lucky because I really felt like we're kindred spirits. I mean, I love nature, you love nature, and we were both fortunate to grow up in families, although admittedly I'm old enough to be your grandmother, but I still feel like a teenager in many ways. But we both grew up in families that taught us to appreciate nature. Here, obviously in South Florida, we can find beauty in nature in a comfortable way 12 months out of the year. But in your writings, you find beauty in nature all year long, in spite of the temperature or the climate. And your love of nature that was obviously introduced to you by your family, you take to a whole new level. So I wanted you to share for people that haven't yet read the book. How did you take that, obviously that education about nature, but explain it in ways that were so detailed as far as your knowledge of plants and trees and insects and birds? How did you expand that?
So I think I expanded my knowledge, first of all, by reading a lot. Like, I didn't read any like nonfiction books until I was like 10. And before that, it was literally just fact books on everything that I could learn about. I spent most of that time reading just facts about everything and anything I could get my hands on, because I wanted to know so much about the world, because I didn't like the fact that I didn't want to be in the dark. I wanted to know as many things as possible, because that gave me almost a sense of security and safety in knowledge. And so I read Although now I realize that I can't know everything, which was a sad truth. But it, but still, I still try to learn and gain as much knowledge as I possibly can, and it's quite important for me that. So I gain knowledge by reading. I gained also a lot of my knowledge from observation of the natural world, from being out into the natural world so much. I did gain knowledge in that way as well. And that was a massive part of my very early ages, was all about learning. It was just how I spent my days.
Well, it's obvious in your writing. And what I love about what you just said was not only the reading, which, reading is fundamental, but also taking the time to observe, not just adults, but, kids and teens are so preoccupied these days with so much that's out there, via social media or just school and every day, that just taking the time to immerse oneself in nature and just observe isn't something that ordinarily happens. I think unless it's really probably forced upon them, by their parents to actually get outside and enjoy nature. So I applaud you for that and your patient observation of the beauty around you. And that is so well articulated in the book. It's extremely inspirational. So when I look at the book, obviously the title is The Diary of a Young Naturalist, but how is it that you decided that you would actually do this in a diary format, like a day-by-day statement, essentially, of your experiences versus just a narrative?
Well, I think that's something to do with how the book began. It began as not a book. It began as a diary, my diary, that I wrote in blog form, because I had a blog before I wrote books. And the original idea was that I would publish those blogs. The blogs were called, it was like a blog series called Diary of a Young Naturalist. That's where it came from.
Okay.
And I just got on top of the publisher, and they asked, and then it was just going to be like a little book, but then just a little book, maybe like a few blogs, like maybe like that size, nice and small, not really like sellable or anything like that. But then I just kept on writing. I enjoyed writing the diary in this format so much that I just kept. It was actually at the end of spring where I went, okay, then I'm writing a book now, and I never looked back, really.
I'm glad you never looked back. It's beautiful. And what the diary format does is obviously allow this beautiful glimpse into your personal life, not just your knowledge or your observations, but really who Dara is on a day-to-day basis. And I found that so engaging, because within your writing, obviously it's nature-based, but there's so many themes. I mean, first of all, I've never been to Northern Ireland, so it was like a geographic tour of your homeland, which was great. I got about halfway through the book and I thought, I need a map of Northern Ireland so I can position these lovely places that you explored with your family. So there was the geography, the nature, your family, and your relationships with your family members. The emotions that you experience on a daily basis, that basic teenage angst also. And then, of course, your challenges with autism, which was very meaningful for me because I have a great nephew who has autism. And I haven't seen him because of COVID, but I sent his mother the link to this today, and she's very excited about reading your book. But to me, I just thought it was beautiful how your connection with nature helped clarify so much in your brain and helped
Yeah.
helped, and I'm no, PhD, but you articulated so beautifully how nature helped clear your head and gave you focus and peace. And that was beautiful. But what intrigued me the most is that, when I Googled you or read about you, you're known as, this activist. And obviously your accolades and the awards speak for themselves. But that only pops up occasionally in your diary. You really want people to know who you are. That's what I took away from the book. What is it that you think when people read the book? What do you want their takeaways to be?
Well, I don't really know what they'll take away from the book, because that's what a book is for. It's to allow for lots of different people to see many different things out of one entity. But what I put into the book was it's my heart and soul. It's my life. It's me, and it's all of the things that come along with me. In that sense, it's like all of me, because when I was writing the diary, there's the temptation to not write about certain little bits of my life and to go, oh, it's fine, I don't need that. And I didn't do that with the book, because I was like, okay, I'm going to need to include everything, all of the different little things that make us human. And so I did that. And it was, so I hope that when people read the book, they can see me, first of all, and they can also see how beautiful the world is as well. And they can see how important it is to protect it. And I don't think I mention activism quite as much in the book as you might expect, is because
Right.
I truly believe that the book itself is an act of activism. It is in itself a form of activism, because it speaks out about the things that I believe in and all the different ways that I go about in that change that I want to see. And it talks about the wonder of the world. And I do truly believe that words have meaning, they have power, they have the ability to change the world that we live in. And that the book became my way, because honestly, when with protests and that sort of activism, it feels very exposed. It makes you feel very vulnerable. And I think if anybody takes anything away from the book, it's that activism can be in so many different ways. You can be an activist through your words, through your art, through your writing, through any way that you wish to express yourself. And I think that's a really important thing to realize, is that what you have to say matters. And I do believe in that. And so if any of you wish to get into activism, but you don't feel comfortable with doing the usual route of the traditional ways of activism, you can do whatever you want. It's quite liberating when you realize this, that you can make paintings, you can do music, you can do in my case, I chose writing because I'm rubbish at art and music. And so you can do whatever you want, and you can realize that, yes, I can make a difference through this, because protests can create action from political leaders, but art changes minds. And so if the minds haven't been changed, then will any change that we enact be permanent? And so that's why I believe that all of these different ways that we can be activists are super duper important, is because we can't have just one approach that doesn't work. It has to be all these different ways of expressing ourselves and our voices. And
So I also, Christina, when she did my intro, I work for a nonprofit that works on environmental and architectural and cultural preservation in Miami-Dade County, which is, obviously after COVID, I mean, so many people are coming to Florida, and there's rampant redevelopment and gentrification and shrinking green space. And so to create activists, first you have to educate people, right?
Yes.
About the necessity for activism. And we have a program called Miami Urban Tree Trekkers, which is to teach students about the importance of saving our urban tree canopy. And we've had a really tough time engaging high school students and high school teachers in our program, elementary, middle, grade. But what I know, you started an environmental or an eco club at the school you attended at one time. How was it? What did you do to get teenagers or your fellow students and peers involved and wanting to glom on to these issues and see that something has to be done? Did you motivate? How did you motivate?
I think, first of all, they were very, very enthusiastic, the people who joined up the eco group and actually wanting to do change. But I think the reason why a lot of people in high school maybe don't struggle to get into activism is because their lives are so exhausting at the moment that it's almost like we're in the situation of life being so troublesome and awkward that it's really hard to do these sort of things. And so what I think is the best way of getting people into activism is to provide accessibility to that activism, make it easy to do. For the eco group, we spent an hour a week for the eco group. It's not that long, so you've got to do all your homework and stuff. So time becomes so you've got to make it short, because time is a big factor. You've got to make it snappy. You've got to make it have lots of things to do. It's got like one of the big things that I see is that a lot of, like, sometimes it does feel to me that like my age group we're a bit like it's a bit confusing because we're almost like paradoxical. We can be really, really, really invigorated by something, but not have the energy or the time to actually do it.
That happens when you get older too.
And it's like, I've put my entire life to activism, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And that's why I'm realizing now is, if we want to make real change to the world, we've got to make it easier for everyone to make that change. And so when it comes to high school students, you could probably try and do hour-long events, a little bit of education here and there, but not be too disheartened when people of that age group can't actually engage with it, because there's just so much going on at the moment. It's an intense time to be alive as a young person. The world is very, very fast paced, and it's like I'm hardly keeping up at the moment, and I love the natural world so much. So it's a hard time to be alive at the moment, and I think the first step to realizing youth activism is to sort of take that into account, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. And that's a great lead into my next thought about you personally. And since the book came out and your notoriety obviously is increasing, do you have the time to get out into nature on a daily basis? I mean, are you still taking that time for yourself? Because it obviously is very healing for you.
Well, yeah, I take down I can take out time out of my day to go out into nature because it's essential for me. It's just a part of my daily routine at this point. Like if I don't, I go a bit bonkers. And it's a bit of mental stability for me. So I always go out. It's just a part of me, and I'll go out for the rest of, and I'll go out and explore nature for the rest of my life. So I'm sort of I like I work really hard at school and I try to do as much that like sometimes honestly I get a bit burnt out from it all and I have to take like a few weeks off and like try and recuperate, and it's because it's pretty intense. So but nature is very, very healing for me and super duper important.
Right. So I know, like, in reading your book, where you are in Northern Ireland, schools go through the end of June. So are you still in school now?
So because I'm in the upper bit of the school, like the upper years, we get out even earlier. So I'm out of school at the moment. I know I left school last week. That was when this week. Sorry, today. So with holidays, your knowledge of days goes out completely out the window. It was on Wednesday when I was relinquished from school. So I'm spending a lot more time out in nature at the moment. Because now I've got time again. I have my exams going on, so was pretty intense. I'm not even going to try and go with the education system differences that always causes. Right. I don't understand the American education system to this. So it's, but basically they're exams and they're stressful.
I remember that long ago. I do. And I loved your description, speaking of schools, in one of your diary entries about how uninspiring the typical classroom is, right? And I remember having those same feelings that, gosh, there could be so much more. If education was a little bit more freeform, right, and teachers had a bit more freedom. But now, I mean, there are some places it's hard to imagine that they believe kids concentrate better if there's no windows in the classroom, and I find that horrific. But
that's horrific.
Right? I mean, everybody needs a little mental time out to at least look at something outside. It's helpful.
Yeah.
So, are you working on anything next as far as a potential? Are you thinking ahead as far as another book is concerned, given the popularity of this? I mean, I've read about how well the book has been received, and it's debuting in the U.S. now, and so you're going to be really busy. But you've hit a lot of chords with this, with your diary, and people want more. So how are you going to handle that in your busy life?
I've actually finished another book. Wait a second. I might have it somewhere. It's a picture book. It's like a children's picture book. Wait a second. Oh, I don't have it with me. Oh, it's really cool looking. Well, I have a picture book that's coming out in July here. It's coming out here in July. I don't know when it'll be. It will probably be released in the US at some point. So that's actually done, and it's amazing. It's actually illustrated by the same person who illustrated the cover of the diary, which is going to be. It looks incredible. It's incredibly beautiful. The illustrations for that. And so I'm very, very excited for that to be published. And I'm also working on another book, which is going to be based around Irish mythology and Celtic mythology and how it links with the Irish landscape, and how landscape and humans and stories and nature all intermingle in mythology, and especially predominantly Celtic mythology. And that's a book that will be, I don't know when, because the idea, the idea of it was to sort of go around Ireland, going to all these special places around Ireland, like monuments and stuff. But then lockdown happened, so I couldn't actually visit these places. So now I don't know when it's going to come out, but it will come out at some point in the next 5 years. That's about as close as I could possibly say.
So I meant to ask you this question earlier when we were talking about school, but where are you in your education? Like, how is it deemed high school there? So you're upper level, and then you go to college. So where are you in that whole hierarchy?
Okay. So here we have, so basically we have we have primary school, which is like, I guess, your elementary schools, I guess. And then we have our secondary schools, which is like your middle and high schools tossed into one. And so I'm 17 at the moment. So I'm doing what we call our A levels, which is like our last qualification before we head off to college or university. And I'm in my first year of A levels. So I've got another year of A levels, and then I go off to university. That sort of makes sense? Like okay. So I've got one more year left until I head off to college or university, basically.
Beautiful. Well, I can say that in reading and how much you shared of yourself in this book, and it seems your wealth of world knowledge, I would probably deem you an old soul at 17, somebody who really feels a deeper connection to the world and its history and the connectivity between man and nature, which obviously this is all about, right? How we see nature, how we fit into nature, and the learning about that, the education will just never stop. Yeah. I mean, when you think of and I love the fact that you're going back to history and sites. And yes, my guess is you're going to be following how man maybe changed nature in those sites, or not? Not
really. I'm sort of just more. I'm going to be quite positive. I want to be quite positive with my book, like with my books. So I'm more going to be talking about more just the human's connection with the landscape and how stories influence that. It's going to be a book about stories, and it's a book about mythology, and it's a book about nature, and a book about landscape, and how all of those are interlinked. Basically, that's how the book is sort of going to. And there's so many cool places around here that are steeped in human history and natural history. And I'm going to work on trying to find the link between the two. That's sort of the premise of the book.
I see why you're thinking 5 years. That's a lot to research.
Yeah,
and I can see a Dara tour of those sites in the future.
Yeah, I've got I've got my stack of books beside my bed at the moment that I'm slowly working through on Irish mythology. It's amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. And yes, and the picture book, it's going to be released here in July, but I don't know when it's going to be released in the US.
So with the picture book, you said it's geared toward a younger audience. Is there a particular message within that book? Are you trying to create young activists or connecting them with nature? Is there an overriding theme?
Not really. I think it's just a joyful book. It's just a book that's about nature, about exploring nature. It's about a young child exploring the natural world, basically. And it's basically a younger me and my young self, and trying to re-experience all of those very young memories of exploring the natural world around me. That's basically what the book is. And done through prose. There's going to be a fact section. There's like fact sections. There's activities to do. There's actually some cool scientific topics that I'm also discussing that you usually wouldn't discuss for a wee while until later up in school. But I wanted to give children like the rundown of these biological concepts like classification, migration, stuff like that, species of trees, and just trying to give a bit of knowledge. I think that's the general theme. It's a theme of gaining knowledge while also it's basically the book that I wish that I had when I was a young child, reading lots and lots and lots about the natural world. It's a book of knowledge, and it's a book with also a bit of prose in it, which is pretty exciting. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that book coming out and people getting the chance to read it. So yeah, it's a beautiful. The illustrations, I can't say this enough, are amazing.
Well, it sounds like a book that adults should read also.
Oh yeah, picture books are for everybody.
That's right. Well, I think you're awesome, and I hope that the book continues to be a great success for you. It's so beautifully written, and again, I was just fascinated with how much you share of yourself and your daily observations and sentiments. It was very refreshing, and I think gave great insight to your care and concern for nature and how we can all do better. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I thought this would be a good time to pop out.
Okay.
I actually want to know, what is the title of the picture book?
Oh, it's called Wild Child. That's
Wild Child. Oh my God, I love that.
And wait a second. I'm going to quickly run and grab it.
Grab it so you can share it. Amazing.
He's
Oh my God, just blows me away. I love it.
Right. I honestly could not.
So inspiring, right? Just so inspiring.
Inspiring and
hopeful too, because it's in the hands of these generations to actually get us through.
Yeah, we're going to help.
Yeah, I know.
we need to continue to prop them up.
Okay, this is Wild Child.
Ooh,
and it's
lovely.
So it's the same illustrator, and it's all pretty cool. So yeah, this is the book.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Well, we love books. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, I'm going to talk to, we do a lot of school visits, and we do a lot of work with schools and reading. And I think this would be a great book to have in the schools in America, and also to make it, maybe required reading. Without being so strict about it, but like something that is just like so wonderful to inspire young people. So we have a few questions from the audience. How long did you work on the book?
I worked in it. It was written in basically real time. So it took a year to write, and then it got released a year later. There wasn't actually that much editing involved with the book because I wanted to keep it as raw as possible. I wanted to keep it as close to the original. We wanted to keep it as close to the original, first draft, because you'd lose a little bit of the rawness that comes with the book. So I spent about a year writing it, and then not that long editing it, and then it was released a little while later. So yeah, it's because it was like it took, so yeah, about a year to write.
And that leads into another question. When did you start keeping a diary?
I started keeping a diary. Oh God, here comes my knowledge of dates completely scuffed.
Or maybe just how you started keeping it. You've always loved writing?
Yeah, I've always loved writing. I write about everything that I see.
So
So probably pretty, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So like 11 or 12, like probably about the same time that I was writing the blog, honestly. So that'd be about 12, maybe a little bit before, like 11
And
or 12, I'd say.
did you do it longhand, or would you carry it around with you when you were out in nature and jot things down, or did you?
If I were to remember my notebook, then I would, because I'm horrifically forgetful. So if I would remember it, I would, but quite a lot of time it was written up at night, late at night time.
So
which is when yeah.
Could you share just like, I don't know, an example? It doesn't have to be from long ago, whenever, something that was the most impactful from nature, something that really impacted you.
Oh, I can absolutely say what that was. It was seeing the hen harrier. It's a special, very special bird to me. And it was in Big Dog Forest, which is in the book. I think I can't remember if it's actually, no, it isn't in the book, this specific memory. And basically this bird is everything to me. It was the bird that gets me so excited about the natural world. It's like a ghost. It's sometimes known as the ghost of the Moors, or the sky dancer. And it's the most incredible bird. You've just got to look up a picture of one.
It's called a hen harrier?
Hen harrier.
Hen harrier.
They're incredible birds. And I was down at Big Dog Forest in the book, and it was just came up out of the trees, and it was one of them. The fact that I wasn't really expecting it, I didn't know that there was any there. It just sort of came at me, and I was like, and it is probably almost definitely one of the most impactful moments in nature for me, because it was just, yeah, dude. It's hard to really define what made it so special for me, but it was absolutely incredible.
Almost like seeing a dragon.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Better than that.
Better than that. So I was watching a documentary that I think it's Richard Attenborough narrated, about how the pandemic has actually affected nature in a positive way, because there's been an ability for Mother Nature to kind of repair itself. And for a lot of species, even species that were extinct or were suffering, to actually come back. You know, the penguins somewhere were able to raise their young because there weren't people on the beach. The waters were able to renew. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, or do you have a lot of hope for the world?
I do have a lot of hope, although when it comes to actual how the pandemic changed nature, I don't think it was really that much of an effect. The fact that the human world halted, but the natural world just kept on going in the way it's always done. Even it's almost quite hopeful in the fact that our entire world, like for us, the entire world changed for a while, but for the natural world, it was business as usual for most, and that's quite a hopeful thought. But what I do think changed was our perception of nature changed, because I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, there's so much nature around now, and is that because of lockdowns?" And I'm thinking, well, is that just because you're noticing it a little bit more? Because all of the human world, those distractions have just been completely eliminated. And now all that's left is really the natural world, which we can tune into a little bit more. And I think that did really come through that we sort of, when we took a step back from our busy day-to-day lives, we suddenly realized that there was so much more out there. And that's what I sort of think happened. But there were definitely some cases where the natural world did actually recuperate, like in the case of the penguins and in Venice when the waters cleared up and dolphins started appearing in there. But I think in general, it was more that our perceptions changed.
I think that's such an insightful comment. I think you nailed it. I think people are just paying attention, whereas they weren't paying attention before.
Yeah.
And kind of, taking so much joy from seeing these things. Wow, that's beautiful. So we're nearing the hour. So I'm just wondering if you have any closing remarks, if you'd like to leave us with any thoughts about the book. I think Chris already asked you a little bit about your hopes for the book, but maybe you could just tell us a little bit more.
Well, I could read a little section of the book.
That would be lovely. Okay, if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna disappear us so we can hear from you.
Yeah.
But we're here in the background. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Saturday, 9th of June. The day is glorious. It's summer weather. I have a new Undertones t-shirt, the My Perfect Cousin one, and I feel good wearing it. I don't know why I love t-shirts with some part of me brandished on them. Maybe it's because it will either scare people away or start a conversation, without me having to do anything. Well, either way, that hasn't happened yet. We arrive at the first house for viewing and Mum hates it. I can tell. I don't like it either. Everything about it is squashed. Wait a second. This is one I didn't want to read. This isn't the one I wanted to read. Okay, wait a second. Whoops, daisies! I've completely
Take your time. Take your time.
I had a thing and then I accidentally flicked it off. Okay, I've got it back.
Okay. Do you want to pull back just a little bit so we can see your face a little more? Because now that okay, perfect.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything is burgeoning below the oak tree, and Castle Archdale Forest is full of life as I try to fight the emptiness. I'm looking forward to the end of June when school ends and I'm safe again, at home with my family. Grades are always near perfect, but that's the easy part. While everyone swaps numbers and arranges to meet during the holiday, I'm the one standing there, gaping, bewildered, awkward. I want to belong, yet hate the notion of belonging. Instead, I spend the summer at home, with every good day spent outside. There are always projects to do on pollination, the Middle Ages, Beowulf, poetry, music, and we love it. Especially the road trips, the traveling, the movement. We're never stagnant, unlike school. We weren't always so mobile. When I was younger, it was just easier if there was nobody else around. I used to have major tantrums, which peaked when I was about 7. And if we spent any time with other families, other parents, other kids, it was hell. The light is dazzling the ground below the oak tree. I watch it sparkle on the grass as a memory surfaces. And I'm going to leave it there because I chose this little section of the book because it's summer, and this is the introduction to summer, a little section on the introduction to summer. And it's also something that's changed since the book because I'm now at a new school, as happens in the book. And for the first time in my life, I have friends, and I actually managed to get a chance to actually swap numbers with people and not stand there gaping and bewildered. And I just wanted to say that even though this was a massive year for me, and big changes were happening for me, and I just wanted to read that little section because it's almost like I feel like I've succeeded. I feel like I've managed to find belonging while still being able to set myself out from what I see as being this completely false notion of normal. And that for me is massive. Like, and so, yeah, that's just, I get a little bit emotional reading that. Summer always does that to me. It makes me feel, gives me a weird feeling inside. You'll have to read the book, I guess, to find out why I always feel a bit weird about summer. But that's sort of what that section means to me. And I hope you guys liked it.
That is so beautiful. Dara, you are such a deep, poetic, and beautiful thinker. Incredibly inspiring. I can't wait to read the book. I just want to remind everyone watching that you can order a copy by just hitting that green button, and we'll ship it right off to you wherever you are. And if you're in Miami and you want to come by one of our bookstores, we have it there as well. I am going to make good on that idea to talk to our education director and see what she thinks about it, and if it might be something that we could use in the schools. Chris, thank you for your wonderful moderating.
Thank you so much for asking me.
Just wonderful to see you. I hope I'll get to see you both in person at some point. And Dara, if you're ever coming into the United States, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Maybe there's a possibility of you're coming for Miami Book Fair. I don't know. I'll talk to the publisher. That happens in November, right before Thanksgiving. So I'll talk to your publisher and I'll talk to the book fair and see if there's any way that could happen. I think you'd be, if you're up for it, I know you're super busy, but maybe if we start our own eco clubs or anything like that, if you would maybe offer to make an appearance at one of those virtually, that could be incredibly inspiring as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even talk to the schools if you're up for it, but
which is all very exciting.
Without overloading you.
Yeah.
What is the bird in back of you? The bird, the drawing.
It's an artistic impression of a barn owl or screech oak in Irish, because they like scream really, but they're also they're completely silent. They don't in flight. They don't make a single sound. And they're beautiful birds. So yeah, that's what the bird is. It's a sort of artistic impression of one, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
And they're definitely symbols of wisdom, owls, and transformation. So your new book sounds fantastic. I wish you the best of luck with it. Thanks to you for being with us today. Thank you, Chris. Thanks to your family for all their support of you. We didn't get to say hi to them, but I want to say hi to them as well and thank them. And take good care of yourself.
Thank you. Oh, it's been amazing. It's good. It's always,
great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
You.
Bye.